This should be taking longer than something that is long. Just between you and me, Rifter likes looking at pictures of rocks. Rifter 3 snap. Rifter loves eating all kinds of gems, stole a lot of them from Rouge the Bat.
Greetings! I'm back once again to read Paper Mario: The Temple of the Sun. How are you all doing today? It's a good afternoon on my end, 12 p.m. Yeah, so last time on chapter 7 of this story, because we're finishing this chapter for this stream, Mario and his friends enter the Dark World or something, which is where like the main villain was at. A bunch of stuff happens, and then we got like this huge like plot dump or whatever from the Goomba partner that supposedly explains why he is so aloof and stuff, and I didn't know how to feel about all that. Hopefully, you know, we get more I guess more elaboration on that. I mean, not elaboration, like some resolution to that whole thing. But yeah, let me get on stream right now. Hello. Yeah. Alright, so, author's note. In case anyone was concerned about this, none of the opinions expressed by Goomblane or the other characters are necessarily my own. This is kind of a funny idea to me. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know. Wait a minute, where's my water? Ah, here's my water. Alright. Let me look through my media player. Alright, cool. All good. Alright, let's get started. King Shroud's Fortress, 12 o'clock midnight. Deep underground, in the cellar of the fortress, 7 heroes were slumped inside a cell, their heads hanging in defeat, not a word spoken among them. They knew they should be looking for a way to escape, but after what had happened a few minutes ago, none of them had the heart to try anymore. It seemed as though there was a gray cloud hanging over their heads. And to be honest, they were all still dealing with the shock. They were almost too afraid to even open their mouths. For the longest time, the only sound in the room came from an echoing, dripping noise coming from somewhere above their heads. Poor Goomblane, Stubba finally spoke up. I feel so bad for him. Me too, Hannah sighed. I mean, he was a jerk, but he kind of had a good reason, huh? I don't know. If only he said something to us, said Maisie, gazing through the bars and looking guilty about something. We could have done something for him. I never once imagined that he blamed us personally for everything that's happened to him. Ferdinand lifted his head up. But, we weren't guardians when all that stuff went down, were we? I don't reckon he really cares about that, Snatchel muttered. Of course, nobody was more miserable at the moment than Mario. Of course. He was hardly even listening to his partners talking. Gwynblaine's last words to him were still ringing in his ears, drowning out everything else as he sat gazing into his lap. The worst part, Mario knew all of it was true. He couldn't deny it after having it thrust in his face like that. Gwynblaine had been something completely foreign to him, a partner who wouldn't open up to him, a partner who refused to get along with him. He had no idea how to deal with something like that. So he hadn't. He just pushed it to the back of his mind the moment Hannah joined the group. Interesting. Dude blame people who have nothing to do with it. Yeah. Okay, so like, I get what they're going for here, because it's like, in every Paper Mario game, it's like you have partners that, you know, just unconditionally love Mario for who he is, whatever. And like Gwynblaine is like the subversion. It's like, oh no, he's a partner that doesn't really like anyone. And Mario is just not so used to that kind of thing, I guess. Which, like, that could work if done differently. But the thing is like this version of Mario is so much more emotional that I'm not sure if this necessarily makes sense in the story. I don't know. I'll keep reading. The truth was, maybe he was a little spoiled. He was just so used to being a hero, so used to being adored by everyone, that having just one person who reviled him so openly was more than he could handle. I mean, there's Bowser. And he'd been so busy worrying about that, he hadn't stopped to think that maybe Gwynblaine was having bigger problems. You know, my little bro once went on an adventure, and he had 3 partners who didn't like him. Oh yeah, that's true, in Thousand Year Door. He finally said, giving a sad, ironic smile. I never really gave it any thought, but looking back, I have no idea how he did it. He sighed, gazing at the floor. He handled it better than I have been, that's for sure. His partners had all turned to look at him when he started talking. Mario, please, said Maisie, looking concerned at his state. I know Gwynblaine said some hurtful things, but you can't let it get to you like this. But he was right. He was. Almost everything. He ran his hand over his face. He ran his hand over his nose. I neglected him. He needed me, and I just threw him to the side. I can't believe I've been so selfish. Mario, come on. This isn't all your fault, and you know it, Hannah said firmly, putting her hands on her hips and looking him square in the eye. Even if Gwynblaine was right, and I'm not saying he was wrong to just leave us like this. Where is he even going to go? Asked Julia, looking concerned for him. He can't get back to Soluna Town. He probably can't even get out of the fortress without someone finding him. Now I'm remembering Luigi's deep fried blooper buddy. Oh yeah, and like the next, and then you do see that blooper buddy a few more times after his introduction, and like I think he got even darker colored, like maybe he got even more burnt. And I think he kind of went insane by the end of the adventure or something. We're gonna go look for him, aren't we, Mario? Asked Stubba, gazing up at the plumber with worry in his eyes. We're not gonna leave him here, are we? It almost broke Mario's heart to see the look on Stubba's face. Even after all this, he was still so innocent. And yet Mario couldn't forget that he still had 2 parents waiting back at home for him. Huh? Oh, Stubba's parents. All right. I thought they mean like Mario's parents. Like what? Stubba, right now, Gwynblaine doesn't really need to be found. Doesn't really want to be found. He tried to explain. If once to come back, he'll know where to find us. But until then, I think trying to look for him is just going to be a waste of time. And we don't get a lot of that, do we? Snatchel sighed, leaning against the bars and gazing out wistfully. That fella's gonna let his boss know where we are any minute now. Suddenly, he straightened up, looking at something outside the cell with interest. Mario? You might want to have a look at this. Mario immediately turned and looked. At first, he didn't know what he was looking at, but then he realized Snatchel was staring at the torch hanging from the brazier closest to the cell. There was something strange looking about it, and Mario realized the bricks surrounding it were suspiciously off color. It's a switch, he explained, jumping to his feet. The torch is some kind of secret switch. I'll bet you anything that's our ticket out of there. I don't know if that's Snatchel talking. He dashed over to the bars and peered through them, becoming more and more sure as he looked that he was right. His partners all looked curiously at the torch as well, though they didn't look as enthusiastic about it. Well, that's great, Mario, but we have to pull that switch to activate it, Hannah reminded him. We're not exactly in a position to do that right now. Well, we'll see about that, Snatchel said with a cheeky grin, immediately grabbing his lariat. He concentrated hard and twirled his lasso for a moment before throwing it directly through the bars of their cell, tightening around the switch and giving it a yank. There was a loud, creaky groan, and the bars of the cell swung wide open. Alright, we did it! Mario laughed, racing out of the cell along with his partners, and feeling a huge surge of relief. Maybe they still weren't too late. Haha, I knew it! No prison could hold the incomparable Team Mario! Hannah laughed with her signature hammer twirl. Wicked! The bumpty boulders were not meant to be contained, man! Ferdinand chuckled, looking very happy to be free. Mario quickly caught himself and turned to face his partners. Alright everyone, first things first. Let's make sure King Shroud doesn't find out we're here. We all know what that means, right? His partners all struck mischievous grins and he nodded. I thought so. Let's go! And so they raced out of the dank cellar and up to the main floor of the fortress, but not before Mario skidded to a stop at the sight of a group of sparkles hiding behind a barrel and hastily grabbed a Luma on his way out. Can't forget about the Lumas. Meanwhile, King Shroud is not going to be happy about this, the officer mumbled as he walked into a small, deserted room in the fortress and prepared to teleport away. As if anything else could go wrong tonight, I got to let him know about Mario before it's too late. Ooh, yeah, sorry about that, came a rather smug-sounding voice. The officer gasped and spun around to see that Mario's team had filed into the room behind him, striking battle stances and grinning in anticipation of revenge. In anticipation of revenge. Holy shit. You? But how did you... Don't worry, we'll tell him you tried your hardest, said Mario. The ensuing battle was over in record time. Oh, nice. We're not even gonna go into that. I mean, I appreciate it. After that, Mario wasted no time using the keys they found to unlock the nearest door leading back up to the base battlements. As they ascended up into the watchtower, though, they weren't happy with what they saw. Oh no! Mario groaned. Marching around the battlements were at least double the amount of patrols there had been before, and no doubt they were all on the lookout for Mario's group. There was no way they could safely make their way across. Shoot! Come on guys, we can't stay up here, he muttered, hastily ushering his partners back downstairs before they were caught. He was sure he saw several of the guards turning their heads in his direction, but luckily the group made it down just in time. That was close, Julia whimpered as Mario slammed the door behind him. Now what do we do, Mario? I thought going up there was the only way we could see the whole fortress. It was the only way, Mario groaned, leaning against the wall. But if they catch us again, they'll probably do a lot worse than lock us up. Ugh, this is no good. We have to get to the back now. We're almost out of time. Hey, don't sweat it, Mario dude, Ferdinand said reassuringly, not looking nearly as worried as he probably should have been. There's gotta be some other way around this joint. Snatchel gave him an exasperated glare. Oh really? What do you reckon we ought to do? Ferdinand shrugged. Just go with the flow, man. That's what I always do. Snatchel's eyes started twitching. This is no time to be going with the flow, he shouted, grabbing Ferdinand and shaking him. Now, sweetheart, be nice, said Macy, patting the irate cowboy on the back. Mario tried to tune them out as he whacked his brain for an idea. Alright guys, I think we only got one choice. We're going to have to go all through the half down there and half on top. If we can find an opening on the battlements where the guards can't see us, then we'll go through there. Otherwise, we'll just have to tough it out on the floor. His partners didn't look pleased about that, but reluctantly decided he was probably right. That was the only safe way. So they quickly set off through the tower level of the fortress, passing through the darkened hallways with the frayed and tattered carpets and tapestries, looking for a place they could safely ascend to the battlements. Surprisingly, there weren't a lot of Darkstriders down here. Though Mario wasn't exactly complaining about that, seeing how they just cleared out a whole hotel full of them. There were plenty of even scarier monsters looking around though, including the Black Wigglers and gargoyle-like creatures they had seen outside. There was no short supply of chain chomps either, adding to the feel of how thoroughly barricaded this place was. "Hey, where do you think you're going?" came a hissing voice. The group spun around to see a Black Wiggler had just dropped down from the ceiling behind him and was now rising up on his hind legs, bearing a set of very sharp fangs. These things are gross," Hannah groaned as they all stepped backwards. "What are they even called, anyway?" "I have no idea," said Mario. "Complain, can you?" He froze. His partners turned to look at him. "Mario?" said Hannah, but he was still unable to move as he realized what he just said. As he was unable to give any directions, there was nothing stopping the Black Wiggler from lunging directly at the group. "Eek!" Stubba and Dulia screamed as he wrapped himself around them in the blink of an eye and tried to squeeze the life out of them. His other partners cried out and tried to come to their rescue, but with a lightning-fast whip of his lower body, the Wiggler sent them all flying backwards and crashing into the wall. "No!" Mario gasped, quickly snapping out of his funk. "No, no, no! Oh no! What do I do?" "Whoa, Mario dude!" Ferdinand cried, staggering backwards to join him. "I think we can use a do-over here." Mario grimaced. "I think you're right." Without hesitating, they both grabbed hands and shouted, "Square one!" The Wiggler stopped in confusion as the square-shaped frame of the battle scene suddenly cut itself out from the surroundings and started spinning around on its top, looking almost like the pages of a flip book. Oh, holy shit. Oh, okay, so this is like a partner ability? Mario and Ferdinand gasped and steadied themselves, and realized to their shock that the Wiggler had suddenly started moving backwards. As his partners got up from the wall, the creature dropped Stubba and Dulia and scurried away from them like a tape being played in reverse. Okay. Alright. Finally, the scene returned to normal, and Mario realized that the last round of the fight had just been undone. "Whoa, trippy man," was all Ferdinand could say. Trippy, but useful, Mario decided. Now that he was paying attention, he and the group were able to make very fast work on the Wiggler. "Okay, I have no idea what just happened. Somebody want to explain?" asked Hannah, though she quickly fell silent as she and the others turned and saw Mario. He still had a pale, slightly distant look on his face, remembering what had happened to distract him in the first place. "Are you okay, Mario?" Stubba asked warmly. Mario sighed and looked down at him. I'm fine, Stubba," he said, not really sounding very fine. "I'm sorry about that, everybody." His partners looked sympathetic. "We're all worried about him too, Mario," Dulia assured him. "But it wasn't your responsibility," Mario thought. "I know, Dulia. I'm just worried that we haven't seen him at all. I'm afraid he got captured, or worse." "I'm sure he's avoiding us, Mario," Maisie sighed. "Anyway, until he decides to come back, I'm sure he'll be fine. He knows all about fending for himself, doesn't he?" Mario managed the faintest of smiles. "Yeah, I suppose he does." They set off again after a moment, but Mario couldn't get Goomblane out of his head. He desperately wanted to see his first partner again, and not just to know he was alright, he wanted to fix things. Now that he was so aware of all the mistakes he made, he just wanted the chance to make everything right with Goomblane. He wanted to believe that it still wasn't too late. Okay, so... hold on. So, like... okay, I'll just keep reading and kind of think about how I feel about this later, but yeah, I just think it's kind of funny, honestly, that like Mario just feels really bad because he essentially wasn't really paying attention to Goomblane, which I don't know. Let me get a drink of water. Alright. Mario's plan ending up working better than he thought. The group traveled through both levels of the fortress, though they spent most of their time walking through the lower level. Every time they had a chance, they climbed up to one of the watchtowers and see if there was a place they could sneak past the guards of the battlements, and if there was, they raced through as fast as they possibly could. Most of the enemies inside the fortress attacked in groups, but luckily, it was nothing Mario's team could handle. Hannah was eager to take them out all at once with her electrifying Volt Hammer, and Snatchel often joined in with his new Double Dash skill, charging through the enemies and sending them flying like bowling pins. It wasn't any easier up on the battlements. Not only did they have the patrols to constantly worry about, they found themselves frequently having to contend with the bullet bill blasters lining the walls of the fortress. Taking them out, as well as the round of bullet bills they fired out, was a very time-consuming task. At the very least, one of the watchtowers they were hiding out in turned out to have a Luma inside of it, and Mario vaguely realized as he collected it that this must have been the very last one. He rescued enough of them now to upgrade all of his partners 2 times. It's really almost over, he thought, and the thought was a strange one. At one point, the group had to walk across a bridge taking them directly above the inner courtyard of the fortress. Mario had to will himself not to look down, for directly below them were rows upon rows of monstrous creatures marching in formation, chanting out discordant war cries. The plumber let out a shudder, growing more determined than ever to find that Sun Soul before King Shroud had the chance to unleash him on the rest of the world. Alright guys, down there, all those guys down there, and the one guarding the Sun Soul is stronger than all of them, Dulia whispered. Who on earth could be powerful enough for that? I don't even want to think about that, Mario grumbled. Finally, after what felt like forever, the group had safely navigated all the way to the back end of the fortress. They were lucky enough to find a sleeping Darkstrider slumped against a brick wall, and so Dulia quickly disguised them all and enabled them to walk right past the rest of the patrols and through the large wooden doors. Well, I think we know where the key is, Mario said once they were inside the room. There was a huge wooden treasure chest on the far end, but between it and them was several stone walls rising out of the ground at various angles, forming a sort of maze. Not only that, but lining the various pathways was a series of spinning fire traps that Mario was very well versed with at this point in his life. Oh, are they talking about like those like rotating fire bars where if you jump over them a bunch, they actually dissolve into coins? Because that's something in both Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. I don't know if that was a thing in Super Paper Mario as well. But anyway. King Shroud really doesn't trust his minions, does he? Hannah remarked. Oh, hey Mario, check this out. Mario saw as she was pointing at 3 big blue exclamation switches to the side. 2 of them were on the ground, but one was elevated high up on a stone platform and would probably require Hannah's hammer throw to reach. I wonder what these are for, said Mario, experimentally jumping on one. As soon as he did, the entire room began to shake, causing his partners to gasp and flail around. Mario turned and saw that hitting the switch had caused some of the stone walls to lower into the ground, but had also caused some other ones to rise up. Oh, great, he groaned. I bet we have to hit these switches in the right order so we can open up the right path of the key, don't we? Ooh, that sounds like a fun challenge, Hannah said cheerfully, then noticed the weird look she was getting from everyone else. Oh, or not. After Mario and Hannah solved that truly gripping and exciting puzzle, the group walked down the zigzagging path they had opened up, frantically jumping over the spinning fire traps wherever they were found. I like the tone of that. It's just like the author is just being sarcastic. Like, yeah, it's exciting, sure. Mario had to bust out his Ultra Hammer once to smash a metal block that had been placed in their way for good measure, and finally he raced up a small flight of stairs and had Ferdinand fly him over to the platform where the large chest was waiting. Well, is this Ferdinand? Well, here it is, he said quietly, opening up and pulling out the large rusty ancient key. This is what we've been looking for. He stood there for a moment, holding it in his hands as a strange feeling slowly came over him. Hello Eric, how's it going? I'm currently reading the rest of chapter 7 of this story. Hope you're doing good. Oh, hold on. Had a cough for a bit. He realized that this was it. The way the final Sun Soul was opened, and there was no turning back now. Their last stand against King Shroud's forces was about to begin. And then what? He thought. Even when we find the Sun Soul, how do we ever get out of this place? How do we find Shroud? And Peach? How will I ever see her again? Peach, what if it's too late? What if I let her down? The way I let down... He glanced over at his shoulder at his partners, all too conscious of the one who wasn't there, and realized Peach was no longer the only one he was worried about. Alright. Using the same combination of luck and stealth that had gotten them this far, the group made their way back to the very front of the fortress, also finding a P up, D down badge, and with Snatchel's help. I'm doing good, hope you too. Yeah, I'm doing great. I had a pretty good sleep. It's nice being able to stream during the afternoon. It's going to be strange seeing the sun again after all this time. I can't wait to get out of this awful place, said Dulia as they all stood in front of the door. You ready, Mario? Mario nodded slowly, gripping the ancient key in his hands. Ready as I'll ever be, you guys. Hold on. I think I may have skipped something. Finally they ran back in the desert of the Great Hall, walking across the road, and then... Okay, that's fine. Absolutely, Macy said confidently. Whatever's behind this door, I'm certain we can handle it. Whenever I see the word confidently, I keep thinking like... I don't think like the character's saying it with confidence. I'm thinking like the character's like... trying to be secretive about it. Like, you know, confidential. This is it though. The very last Sun Soul, said Hanner, sounding a little uneasy. The strongest one of all. There's no way we're getting it back without a hassle. Well, it's a good thing hassling is what we're good at, Mario remarked, giving his partners one last look, seeing that they were all standing loyally behind him, ready for anything. He finally took a deep breath and turned around, slowly pasting the key in the lock. This is really it. He turned the key, and with a loud series of clicks, the padlock suddenly popped open and clattered onto the floor. Without giving himself any time for doubt, Mario immediately pushed the door open and walked on through. The room that they had stepped into was huge. As usual, the only source of light came from the braziers mounted on the walls, but the flames in this room were inexplicably burning black. Even so, the light was enough to illuminate the rows of spikes jutting from the walls, as well as the vast array of weapons lining every corner of the room. There was nothing to center, but a wide open space, presumably meant for a battle. It felt suspicious, like they were in the indoor arena. They were the only ones in the room. So, where is it? Asked Hanner as they all warily glanced around. The Sun Soul, I mean. Shouldn't it be here somewhere? I'm not sure, Mario muttered, slowly reaching for his hammer. It was unnervingly quiet and still in the room, and he suspected something was about to happen. Surely they were about to find out who it was that was guarding this final Sun Soul. Guys, get ready for a fight, he suddenly said, stiffening and grabbing his hammer. I think we're about to see some action. Dulia was looking nervous. But who? Before she could even finish, she got her answer. Everyone gasped and drew together as a low, throaty noise suddenly filled the room, surrounding the group. It wasn't overly loud, but it sounded artificially amplified, and its sheer power seemed to send tremors through the room. Mario and the others quickly looked around, but the noise didn't seem to come from anywhere at all. What was that? Asked Stubba, looking frightened. It sounded almost like someone was laughing, said Maisie. And then Mario felt his resolve suddenly falter. She was right. It was somebody laughing. But he realized that he knew that laugh. He heard it many, many times, but never like this. No, it can't be. A towering pillar of smoke rose up from the center of the room, spiraling around itself as it reached up to the ceiling and filled the room with a deathly chill. The entire party scrambled backwards in fright, staring at the pillar of smoke, afraid of finding out who or what was about to come sipping out. Except for Mario, he knew exactly who it was. But even as the smoke cleared away and the huge, lumbering form took a step into the room with enough force to make the floor shake, he didn't want to believe it was true. Bowser? He cried. Mario's age-old nemesis was towering over the heads of the group, nearly twice as tall as he should have been, But that was practically the last thing Mario noticed. Well, yeah, because Bowser has been pretty big before. He was more concerned with the fact that Bowser was somehow the same dark blue hue as King Shroud and the Darkstriders, and his shell was jet black. His scales were sharper and more pronounced, his eyes were burning with an unnatural fire, and smoke came billowing out from under his feet every time he took a step. Searing black flames were licking from his mouth as he stepped toward the group, giving them a wicked grin that showed just how deadly serious he was. Yeah, Bowser's here. Mario! He laughed again, his voice distorted and booming, and so inexplicably terrifying that all of Mario's partners, yes, even Snatchel, shrieked and cowered behind him. There you are, you puny, pathetic little plumber. You have no idea how long I've been waiting for this. Author's note. Would you believe I came up with this independently of Bowser's Inside Story? Oh my god. Oh my god, wait. Yeah. Like, basically Bowser transformed into like this new dark form, and I guess this author basically came up with this idea unrelated to like Dark Bowser from Bowser's Inside Story. Interesting. Alright. How many parts are there left? Let me see. Oh, this is the last part of chapter 7. Cool. Oh, this is a pretty long one though. Alright. Author's note. This is probably my favorite part of the entire story. Ooh, it better be good. Drink some water. Make sure you stay hydrated, folks. King Shroud's Fortress, 12 o'clock midnight. Goublade sat in a corner somewhere above the Great Hall, obscured among the shadows and scowling to himself. Leaving the group probably hadn't been the safest idea, but there was no way he was going back to them. Mario had carted him along for long enough, and he was through with it. He couldn't remember the last time he'd been so upset. His face was screwed up in misery as he sat by himself, hardly even caring if he was caught. Confronting Mario like that had opened up all of his old wounds, and he remembered all the more clearly now why he hated the Guardians so much, what they'd done to him, how they were supposed to be protectors, but instead they'd taken everything away from him. And Mario was no better. He was nothing but a pretentious blowhard, flaunting his hero status every chance he got, and not caring about anything else. The only time he had ever given Goublade a thought was when he was yelling at him for being a hassle. He was just another thing that made Mario's life oh so difficult. There were no heroes in this world. The ones who were supposed to help you just ended up hurting you. It was always the same. So, he'd just given up. He didn't even care if you never made it out of this fortress. He had nothing to go back to in Chronoside. Nothing and nobody. He never had. Suddenly, a faint noise reached his ears, and he shot up in surprise. Somewhere nearby, behind a locked door, he heard a group of familiar voices. It was Mario and the others, and they were screaming. They sounded terrified. There was somebody else in the room too, and he was letting out a loud, wicked laugh. Goublade realized they must be fighting for the last Sun Soul. Whoever they were facing must be a real monster. But what did he care? So what if they lost? He never cared what happened to them, had he? Mario, should he really just forget about him? Should he just leave him here to get a game over, not caring what happened? After everything he did to me. For a moment he sat there, feeling confused, wondering what he should do. But finally, his doubt left him and his face grew firm. He made his decision. Ooh. Bowser! Mario gasped, holding onto his hammer for dear life as he stared up at the turtly behemoth towering over them. What happened to you? That's Bowser? Hannah whimpered, looking terrified along with the others. Well, kind of. He doesn't usually look like this. Grahaha! You like it, Mario? Bowser jeered, taking another crashing step toward them. Yeah, this spiffy little makeover makes me 10 times more powerful. More than enough to mop the floor with you. I have good old King Shroud to thank for that. King Shroud? Mario suddenly frowned. Bowser, what are you doing working for him? Don't you know he's holding Peach captive? Do you know what he's going to do to her if you don't get her in time? Oh, that's so typical, Mario. Trying to lie to me to get me to lower my guard. Bowser scoffed. I'm not falling for any of your little tricks. King Shroud already promised me I'll get to have Peach to myself once I'm done pummeling you. Well, there I'm afraid you are misinformed, Maisie said darkly. We know what he's after, and he has no intention of doing such a thing. Bowser just gave her an amused look. And look at that, Mario! You have another group of cute little friends following you around. Well, we'll see how much they like you when you're a spear at a wall. He suddenly stood back and started flexing his dark blue muscles. And by the way, it's not Bowser anymore. This awesome bot deserves a new name. You can call me Blackout Bowser. Mario glared at him. You're joking, right? Actually, that's kind of funny because the story predates Color Splash by a good few years. And I think the final boss theme for the Bowser in that game is Blackout. What a funny coincidence. I've never been more serious, Bowser roared in his face, causing him to wince and cover his ears. This is it, Mario. Our final confrontation. You've been a thorn in my side for long enough. Your superstar saga ends here. What? Okay. Damn. Doing that kind of meme before, like, that meme became popular. Your superstar saga. God damn it. Ugh. And before Mario could even react, he opened his mouth and let loose a torrent of black flames. Mario's whole party screamed and scrambled out of the way, narrowly avoiding being burned alive. It's time to have a color splash! Mario's mind was racing desperately. He was an expert on fighting Bowser, but this was completely different. He somehow had a feeling anything he tried would be completely ineffective. Not least of all because he couldn't even get close. Blackout Bowser's shadowy fire was keeping the entire group at bay, frantically running for their lives. God, that line though. Mario, what do we do? Stubborn cried as they all been backed into the corner. We can't fight him. He's so strong. You're telling me, Mario groaned, staring up at Bowser's wicked grin as he flexed his claws and advanced on them. Mario couldn't believe they were about to go out like this. They needed a miracle. They needed... The door slammed open. Everyone, even Bowser, immediately stopped what they were doing and turned in surprise to face the person who just burst into the room. Gooblain? Mario gasped. Everyone stared in astonishment, not making a sound as Gooblain stood where he was, frowning in intent. Mario's heart suddenly started pounding like crazy. Had Gooblain changed his mind? Had he finally come back to help the group, now when they needed him the most? For a tension-filled moment, Gooblain didn't move. Nobody took their eyes off him as his narrowed gaze traveled over every person in the room, and then finally came to rest on Mario. Mario gazed back at him, and then his eyes bulged in gas, but he was too late to save himself as Gooblain threw himself at him, knocking him to the ground. Gooblain, what are you doing? Hanner cried incredulously. Mario shouted in pain as he struck the hard ground, but Gooblain wasn't finished. He kicked the plumber in the side, sending him rolling across the floor and frantically grabbing at himself, gasping and weakly trying to get to his fate. I'm gonna make you pay, fat man, Gooblain bellowed at him, for everything you put me through. You gotta find out what it's like. Dude, what is your malfunction? Stop wailing on Mario, dude! Vernon said angrily. He and the other partners tried to grab Gooblain, but the Goomba just shoved them all off and continued stomping after Mario. The plumber had finally managed to struggle to his feet, clutching his aching side, but he froze when he saw the look on Gooblain's face. It was so angry, so full of pent-up hate and rage at him, at the whole world, that Mario was completely terrified of what he saw, too terrified to get away. He vaguely realized that Gooblain was using Intimidate on him. It was only then that Blackout Bowser suddenly spoke up. Hey, what the heck is going on here? He demanded, stomping his feet and trying to regain the group's attention. Some lousy Goomba thinks he could just storm in here and steal my fight? This is between you and me, Mario. But Mario still couldn't tear his gaze away from Gooblain. Gooblain, please, he said quietly, though he knew it was useless. Don't do this. You can't do this. Yeah? Try and stop me, Gooblain snarled, ramming him in the stomach and sending him staggering backwards, the wind knocked out of him. His other partners were horrified. They looked frantically back and forth between Blackout Bowser and Gooblain, desperate and confused, unsure of what to do. Thankfully, that decision was made for them once Bowser let out an annoyed growl and started stomping over to Mario, intent on forcibly removing any distractions. Hey, where'd you think you're going, partner? Snatchel snapped as he and the others raced in front of the oversized Koopa. You want to fight? Then you got one right here. Yeah, if you want Mario, then you gotta get through us first, said Hannah, pulling out her hammer with a look that said she meant business. That finally got Mario's attention. What? No! Guys! He turned away from Gublain. He can't! He's too strong! You have to! He broke off as Julia suddenly gave him a sad, nervous smile. Don't worry about us, Mario. We'll be fine, she promised, though everyone in the room knew it was a lie. You're a really good teacher after all. Yeah, we'll take care of Bowser, said Hannah, looking determined but grim. And you take care of Gublain. Mario couldn't believe what he was seeing. His partners were sacrificing themselves just to buy him time. Time he wouldn't even need if he hadn't screwed things up with Gublain in the first place. Bowser let out an angry huff. Huh, fine then. Getting rid of you shrimps would be no problem at all, he growled. Without warning, he swiped a massive clawed hand at the partners, scattering them right off the bat. Mario didn't get to see any more, and he was caught off guard by a painful blow to the head. He spun around and saw Gublain advancing on him, his eyes blazing, looking ready to do something he couldn't take back. For a split second, Mario flashed back to the very first battle back in Saluda Town. He couldn't end this the way he ended it then. He didn't have time for this. He had to go help the others. His fingers twitched over his hammer. No! He stood back, horrified at what he almost done. I can't fight him. Never. If I do, then I lose him forever. He put his hammer away. Gublain obviously didn't care. He smacked Mario in the face again, screaming angrily as the plumber was sent reeling backwards, whistling in pain. Without waiting for Mario to recover, he rushed up and head-bonked him, sending him collapsing to the floor. The music is very fitting, very chaotic. But Mario just pulled him back himself to his feet. Gublain, please, he said quietly. He wasn't even angry, he realized. Just sad. Please, you're our friend. You don't have to do this. Shut up, Gublain shouted at him. Stop acting like you know me. You don't know anything about me. He rushed forward and started beating Mario up all over again. Mario didn't even try to get out of the way. He just stood there, watching the whole thing sadly, taking it like a man. The fight against Blackout Bowser was a hopeless one. Hannah was throwing hammer after hammer until her arm was sore, but they all glanced harmlessly off his shell. Julia's head missile was useless, and she could barely throw up plasma shields fast enough to protect herself and the others from Bowser's crushing claws. Ferdinand couldn't even get in close enough for a beak jab before the Koopa King gave him a painful chomp and sent him plummeting out of the air. We need Mario, Julia cried out, and they all knew it was true. Mario knew how to fight Bowser, and he was the one who organized them all during the tough battles. If he had been there to coordinate them, they may have had a chance, but without their leader, there was nothing they could do. Ha ha ha! Come on, is that all you got? Bowser laughed, effortlessly shattering Julia's plasma shield with another swipe of his hand. I thought friends of Mario's would give me a bigger challenge. Maisie suddenly grew a determined frown. She raced up behind him and started singing the most potent lullaby she knew, intent on putting him to sleep. Bowser heard the melody and suddenly felt himself growing drowsy, only to snap out of it almost instantly and round on Maisie with an annoying snarl. What's this? A pretty little flower? He sneered, relishing the frightened look on her face. You of all people should know better than to play with fire. And in a split second, he opened his mouth and let loose the hottest and most devastating fire blast of the entire battle. Maisie! Cried several partners, but it all happened so fast she couldn't react in time. All she had to do was cry out and throw her arm over her face, squeezing her eyes shut and bracing herself for the end, which never came because Snatchel shoved her out of the way. Everyone screamed, but her scream was the loudest and most desperate of all as the flames roared right by her face, and its charred body toppled over onto the ground. Oh shit! Gublain was pummeling Mario over and over, knocking him around at every angle and driving him backwards. Mario tried to fight back his rising panic. How much longer would Gublain go? He had even proven his point already. He was the clear winner, but was still as angry as ever. He wasn't letting up. He wasn't stopping. But Mario still refused to pull out his hammer. Why don't you fight me, fat man? Gublain snarled as he slugged Mario in the stomach. Fighting what you're good at, ain't it? I could never hurt you, Gublain. You're my friend. No, I'm not. Stop saying that. The fact that Mario wasn't fighting back was just driving Gublain over the edge. He was screaming in frustration as he dealt blow after blow. Mario was aching all over, his vision was swimming, and he could barely stand on his feet anymore. But every time Gublain knocked him to the ground, he just got back up, He had to see this through. He had to fix this. Gouplain, listen to me, he said urgently. I know how you must feel right now. I know how angry you must be. You don't know anything, Gouplain snapped back. You have no idea what I've been through. You're right. I can't imagine what you've been through, but I do know what it's like to lose somebody you love, said Mario as a little rainbow-colored butterfly fitted through his mind. Oh shit, Super Paper Mario reference? What? And I'm not losing you too. I'm not. Mario's partners were dropping like flies. Stubba tried to incapacitate Blackout Bowser by performing his shockwave, curling up as he jumped high into the air, and then slamming into the ground as hard as he could. The resulting tremor rattled Bowser's brain around in his skull and left him confused, as well as flipping over on his back since he had a shell. But even in that state, he was so furious that he just started spewing fire in every direction, not caring what he hit. Stubba couldn't get out of the way in time. Gouplain, you know you don't want to do this, Mario wheezed, clutching at his bruised stomach. Deep down, you know this is wrong. Why do you think that you know that? Gouplain demanded, kicking him right in the face. Mario staggered backwards. Because you stayed, didn't you? Gouplain paused. Gouplain, I know how angry you must be at the Guardians. You think it's their fault that your parents aren't around. You have every right to be angry. He lowered his gaze. You have a right to be angry at me too. Everything you said back there. You were right. You were right, and I was wrong. And I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah, now you're sorry, Gouplain sneered, smacking him across the face again. It's kinda late for that, after everything you made me go through. So why did you stay? Mario repeated. Once again, Gouplain suddenly felt still, looking confused. I didn't make you go through anything. Wait, who's speaking right now? I didn't make you go through anything. You could have left anytime you wanted, you know. There was nothing I could have done to stop you, Mario went on. But you stayed, Gouplain. Even though it hurt you so badly, even though it's just a reminder of what happened, you stayed. Why? Gouplain just stared at him, suddenly starting to shake. Because you knew the Guardians had to come back, Mario answered for him. Because you saw what King Shroud did, and you knew, no matter what it meant for you personally, the world needed the Guardians. So you put your prejudices aside and you stayed, because you were strong enough. He heard Hannah let out a strangled cry as she collapsed to the ground. She was the last one. His partners had all fallen still behind him. That's why I know you can't do this. That's why I know you do the right thing. He staggered and almost fell. And I have to end my own game to prove it to you, then so be it. Gouplain didn't move. He didn't attack Mario again. He just stood there staring at him, trembling all over, his eyes wide. He didn't look angry anymore. He just looked so hurt and lonely and confused. Mario! Came a roar, and Mario spun around to see Blackout Bowser advancing on him. I've had enough of this. I took care of your puny little friends. Now stand and face me. Mario balked at the sight of him. His partners hadn't even landed a scratch on Bowser, while he himself could barely even stand. Gouplain had injured him badly. He didn't stand a chance in this battle. Not by himself. Fine, he finally said, pulling out his hammer and ignoring how much of an effort it was to do so. You want me, Bowser? You got me. Gouplain stood back and stared at him. What are you? Gouplain, you have to get out of here! Mario shouted over his shoulder. I'll hold him off. You just get out of here and save yourself. Hurry! But Gouplain still didn't move. He could only watch in horror as Mario tried vainly to fight back against Bowser's teeth and claws and fire, swinging his hammer but never landing a hit, barely even able to defend himself. But Mario was desperate right now, not even trying to win, just trying to protect his friend like he should have been doing all along. It was over within minutes. Mario fell to the floor, gasping in pain, his hammer flying out of his hand as Blackout Bowser towered over him, his eyes glinting as a toothy grin spread across his face. It's been nice knowing you, Mario, he laughed before he opened his mouth and prepared a final fire blast. Mario could only wince and brace himself, praying that Gouplain had made it out safely, praying that he saved him, that he had at least been able to fix things before the end. Bowser was suddenly struck in the head. He roared in shock and staggered backwards, his fire blast going off in the wrong direction as the person who struck him suddenly landed on the ground, standing protectively between him and Mario. Mario lifted his head up and stared. Gouplain? You're a freak! Gouplain spat at him, tears springing to his eyes. A dumb, stupid freak! You know that! Mario gawked at him for a moment before he remembered where he was, and hastily climbed to his feet, grabbing his hammer off the ground. In the same amount of time, Bowser managed to clear his head. What do you think you're doing, pizza topping? He demanded. Are you on Mario's side or not? We're ending this, Bowser, Mario snapped, coming up to him with his hammer in his hands. We know that it's Sun Soul, and we're not keeping it from us. Gooblain said nothing, but the glare he gave Bowser said that he agreed. Bowser blinked slowly before growling. Alright, fine. Be that way. Let's boogie. Let me drink some water. Ooh. He let loose another blast of black fire at the two of them, but they both dodged it, and then Gooblain pulled out his phone. That's Blackout Bowser. King Shroud juiced him up and made him way stronger than normal, so his fire breath will probably own you if you get hit. He could use his teeth and claws to fight too, and his shell's tougher and can handle pretty much anything, but he's still the same dumb Koopa he always been. You could trick him. Bowser frowned. Hey, do you mind? I'm standing right here. He started chasing after Mario, who was running on pure force of will by now. As he swung his clawed hand at Mario, the plumber threw up his hammer and blocked it, trying to force Bowser backwards. While they were distracted, Gooblain ran up from behind and delivered a multi-bonk to Bowser's head, causing the Koopa King to roar in frustration. How dare you disrespect the great King Bowser, he shouted, swinging his claws repeatedly at Gooblain, but the Goomba ducked and dodged his every blow before throwing in another head bonk. Bowser punished him by body checking him and sending him flying into a wall, but Mario immediately came to his rescue. He steeled himself and jumped high into the air, throwing a pure power smash right down on Bowser's head. Grah! Stop it already! Enough already! Bowser roared, attempting to barbecue them with another fire blast, but Mario pulled Gooblain out of the way just in time. By now, Bowser was so frustrated that he just kept firing blast after blast at them, but the two of them ran around the periphery of the room too quickly for him to catch. He's gonna run out of firepower sometime, Mario muttered as they skidded to a stop. What was that about tricking him? I bet he doesn't like getting made fun of, Gooblain said knowingly. Mario grinned as an idea formed in his mind. Hey, whack out, Bowser! Whack out, Bowser! He shouted, stepping forward. So you really think you're hot stuff, huh? You call those horns? I've seen bigger horns at the high school band concert. Bowser's eyes bulged. Why you? Nobody trash talks the horns! He bellowed, shooting more black flames from his mouth. But it was no use. Mario was too fast. Yahoo! The plumber cheered as he ran back and forth, dodging the flames and taunting Bowser all the while. The Koopa King was getting so furious, he didn't even notice Gooblain until he slammed into him with a mighty head bonk and driven him right into the floor. Alright, that does it. Prepare for Mushroom Flambe, he roared. Wait, what? Mushroom Flab? What? Mushroom... What is that word? He roared, opening his mouth and preparing to burn Gooblain alive. But when he tried, only a weak puff of smoke came out. He blinked. What? No! He desperately tried again, but Mario's ploy had worked. He was all out of fire. No, no, no! Curse you, Mario! You will pay for this! Maybe someday, but not today, Mario said decisively. Let's finish this. Without his firepower, Bowser had to resort to using his teeth and claws to fight. Pronounced flambe. Ah, okay, flambe. And while they were strong, it was nothing Mario and Gooblain couldn't handle. While Bowser was distracted trying to hit one, and not always succeeding, the other would throw in a powerful head bonk or power smash to throw him off balance. The two of them gang up on him, fighting in perfect synchronicity as they slowly but surely drove him backwards. Finally, Bowser had grown too tired to stand. He feebly tried taking a bite out of Mario, but the plumber easily deflected him with a swing from his hammer. Bowser let out a despairing moan as he sank to his knees, completely out of energy. Why? 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 He cried. I spent a whole time preparing for this, passing all these tests, proving I was worthy, getting these awesome powers. He threw up his head. Why can't I beat you no matter what I do? I'll tell you why, Mario said tonelessly. I'm Super Mario. With one more power smash to the head, Bowser let out a defeated groan and toppled over, crashing to the ground. Mario and Gooblain stand back and watch, and after a brief moment, he was suddenly consumed by a cloud of black smoke, spiraling up to the ceiling the same way the first one had. When the smoke finally cleared away, Blackout Bowser was gone. Mario stood where he was for a moment, letting it all sink in. His adrenaline rush was wearing off, and he let out a groan as he collapsed to the ground, his head spinning and his body aching, completely exhausted. Naturally, his partners picked that very moment to get back up. Oh, what happened? Hannah moaned, slowly pulling herself up into a sitting position. Ow. Okay, that guy was really tough. Hey, where is he? Asked Stubba, sitting up and looking around in confusion. Where's Bowser? He's gone! I guess that means we beat him, said Ferdinand, looking pretty pleased. Darling man. Dulia was the first to notice Mario. Oh, Mario! She cried, running over to him. Are you okay? You look awful. What happened to you? Did you beat Bowser, Mario? Asked Stubba as he and the others followed Dulia over to him, helping him back up. Yeah, I guess I did. He chuckled, swaying on his feet as his partner stand up. Don't worry about me, guys. I'm fine. I'm just glad you're all okay. But as he quickly found out, they weren't all okay. Snatchel? Came a panicked voice. Everyone turned and saw the sheriff lying deathly still on the ground, covered in burns. Macy kneeling over him with a pleading look on her face. No, no, no! Snatchel! You can't do this to me! Please! Please, you have to open your eyes! You have to wake up! She started shaking him, and when he didn't respond, Mario and the others' eyes widened in horror, and they raced over to him. Macy's pleas finally grew incoherent as she started crying, shaking her head, looking ready to come undone. And then Snatchel opened his eyes. Macy gasped and fell silent as he slowly sat up and looked at her with a wide-eyed expression. And then she frowned angrily and gave him a hard slap in the face. Don't ever do that again, you big oaf! Aren't you even the least bit inconsiderate? Everyone looked at her in confusion, Snatchel most of all. What? He said, frowning defensively. Come on, darling, that ain't called for. He was cut off as Manly suddenly threw her arms around him and gave him a big long kiss. When she finally broke off in order to lean against him with a relieved smile, he was looking dazed and slightly cross-eyed. He glanced over at Mario and the others, who all gave him grins of approval. Ferdinand flashed him a thumbs up, somehow. Stubba giggled happily, and Hannah threw up her arms and shouted, Finally! Hey, Goblain? Mario's heart skipped a beat. Dulia was the one who had spoken, and he and the others quickly fell quiet and turned to find her looking at the Goomba, who was standing several feet away from the west. Goblain, did you help Mario beat Bowser too? Did you save us? Everyone was looking at him expectantly, but he didn't answer. For once in his life, he looked completely unsure of himself. Yes, he did help me. Mario quickly spoke up, walking over to Gooblain's side. I couldn't have won without him. Thank you, Gooblain. But still, the Goomba said nothing. He had no idea what he could say. He just gazed at Mario with a completely lost expression. It was so strange to see him not looking angry. Oh, by the way, guys, so I was hitting the snooze button on the ad break, but I used them all up, so an ad is going to start in about 30 seconds. So I'm going to take a short break, and then I'll finish the rest of this part, and then the interlude. But yeah, we're near the end of the story. Woo! Alright, but I'll be back soon. Yeah, let me get some water and stuff, and please take care. Whoop!
Ah, just when it's about to get good.
Alright, I'm back. Let's actually finish reading this. Alright. Hey, Gublain dude. I hope you're not still mad at us for being guardians and stuff, Ferdinand said quietly. You know you're our bro, dude. We don't want any of that stuff to happen to you. Yeah, you're our friend, Steppa said fervently, and we're really sorry about your mom and dad. Please don't get me mad. Gublain glanced up at them. Nah, I'm not mad, he finally decided. They gave Mario a pain look. But that man, Mario.
Princess Luna Nightshade is following your space trail.
Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Princess Luna Nightshade. I hope you're doing good. I'm currently finishing up chapter 7 of the story. We're reaching like a emotional moment here. Gublain, it's alright. I'm not angry at you for any of those things, Mario promised him, getting down on one knee so he could look his partner in the eye. But, Gublain, you should have said something all this time. You should have told us. Gublain gave a light scoff. Like he would have cared, he muttered, though there was no heart in his words. Honey, of course we would have cared. Whatever made you think we wouldn't? Asked Maisie. I know it might feel like you wouldn't have anybody, but that's not true, said Dulia, because your family is everybody who loves you, and we could be a family for you, if you wanted us to. Gublain looked at all of them with wide eyes, seeing the friendly, encouraging looks they were giving him. He couldn't believe it. After all this time, after everything he'd done and said, they had no reason to want him around, but they still did. They did. Finally, he couldn't hold it in anymore. He bowed his head and squeezed his eyes shut as tears ran down his face. Ah, jeez. I'm gonna lose all my street cred if I keep crying like this. Gublain, you're one of us. You lost your street cred a long time ago, Hannah said affectionately. Mario smiled, but the smile quickly fell from his face and everything else was pushed from his mind when he noticed a bright glow out of the corner of his eye. Everyone turned and stared. A brilliant, pure white sun soul was floating in the air, and even then it was slowly drifting over to them. Its silver waves were shining, and its bright glow lit up the room around them, drowning out the light of the black flames. Mario could feel its pure power, unlike almost anything he ever felt before. And he smiled in astonishment at the feeling of warmth and happiness it gave off. It was shining so brightly, so much brighter than he expected, almost as though it was reacting to... And then suddenly, everything was clear. Every one of them, even King Shroud himself, had been wrong. The Master of Day wasn't Peach at all. Everyone stared at the sun as the Sun Soul came to a stop, but no one would have stared more than Gublain. But, he said softly, disbelievingly. But I suddenly started trembling and the tears started falling all over again. But it was supposed to be her! Why me? Why me? Mario was completely dumbfounded. For the longest time, he couldn't find his voice. All he could do was stare. I understand now, he finally said. That was Mario saying it. Gublain, you remember what I said to you about how you were helping us bring back the Guardians? No matter what it meant to you personally. Yes, I think that's why. If the Master of Day were Peach, it wouldn't have meant as much. Yeah, I knew all along that like that has to be like some form of twist. Like the moment that they established the idea of like, oh, there's a 7th Sun Soul. I mean, but like even at the beginning, I thought like, oh, Gublain has to be the Guardians because like he's a partner and he stuck around and he was there from the beginning. Like it has to be him. Let me see. Yeah. I guess the Master of Day had to be somebody who would always defend the Guardians, no matter what happened, Henry said softly, still gazing at the Sun Soul in complete awe. And that's exactly what you did, Gublain. You always helped us, even though you didn't want to, even though it was hard. She glanced down at her shoes. That's what I think. Well, what do you know? Snatchel chuckled, removing his hat reverently. I don't reckon I could have picked a better one myself. His other partners were all smiling, but Mario was looking intently at Gublain. So Gublain, what do you say? He said encouragingly. You think you're up to it? You're ready to lead the Guardians of Day and save the world? Oh, excuse me. Hannah grinned and gave a salute. We're behind you all the way, Mr. Master of Day, sir. For a moment, Gublain was silent, looking unsurely at the other partners, then at the brilliant Sun Soul before him, whose very presence seemed to drain all the sadness away and fill him with a glowing light. And then finally, he looked at Mario. "You know what? I think I am ready," he said. "Let's go teach that King Shroud freak a lesson he won't ever forget." All of his other partners cheered, and Gooblain smiled, and Mario thought that if only they were back in Dayside, his smile would have been brilliant enough to snuff out the sun. Mario found a Day Soul. His star power is now 7. With Gooblain's help, he can now use the special move Shine Down. End of chapter. King Shroud had hidden the 7th Sun Soul, the most powerful one of all, within the darkened halls of his fortress. Reaching the fortress was no easy task, but Mario rescued the Sun Soul and also found its true owner. With the Guardians of Day and the Master of Day at his side, the time has come for Mario's final confrontation. The battle to determine the fate of Chronoside is about to begin, to be continued. Author's note: if this were a real game with a battle system comparable to TTYD, Gooblain would refuse to use stylish moves or the appeal command until the end of Chapter 7. Wow. I'm sure you guys have all been waiting for this for a very long time. I know I have. And also this means that the very last arc of the story is about to begin. We're almost done! Woo! Awesome. Let me get a drink of water and kind of gather my thoughts on this whole chapter. We'll read the interlude later. So I do appreciate that Gooblain had this moment of real character growth. You know, it's like from the beginning he has been very aloof and very cold towards the other characters. And this chapter does do a lot to really recontextualize what was happening with him. And I think, like I said, I knew that he had to do something with the Guardians, because it's like you're already running with the logic of, oh, all the partner characters are the Guardians, so like there has to be some way for Gooblain to count as well, because otherwise what else is he gonna do besides just being an asshole? I do think that like the angle they were exploring with the whole like Mario not focusing enough on Gooblain to recognize how hurt he was, like, I think it's a fine angle to go with the story. I do think that I think for me it's like I am happy with this bit of story development, but it just has taken so long to get to this point that like don't get me wrong, I am satisfied with it, but part of me wish that this happened like a little sooner, or at least like I think for me it's that we don't really know much about Gooblain until like this very chapter, and I feel like the story could have done enough to like maybe hint at what was happening with him, like not like spell it out, like, you know, tell his backstory earlier, but like I think for me it's like when he told his whole backstory, it was like a very loaded explanation. It was very like, it's just like this really huge plot dump in the middle of the chapter, when I think like if not revealing like the reality of his situation, like the death of his parents and stuff, they could have at least like maybe like explain his stance on things, like why he's so distant, vaguely earlier in the story. I don't know. Like I like this, but I'm also kind of conflicted with it. But yeah, let's just go read the interlude, and that'll be it for this stream. The Temple of the Sun, nothing. King Shroud was pacing back and forth within the huge room that held the Aeon Clock. He was muttering darkly to himself, quickly running out of patience. "Where is that huge lug?" he grumbled, still casting a shadowy ripple behind him as he walked. "He must have beaten Mario by now. This is ridiculous." He wasn't naive enough to think that Mario wouldn't somehow find his way to the fortress. Why else would King Shroud have gone through the trouble finding the perfect person to guard his final Sun Soul? Still, he'd given Bowser explicit orders to report back here the moment Mario was taken care of, and so far he had heard nothing. He never really expressed himself other than just being bitter about everything. Yeah, and like, that is a character trait, you know, just not really not expressing himself. Yeah, I just think like maybe this could have been, you know, I guess I would have appreciated if the development happened a little more fluently, basically. But then, right on cue, a huge plume of smoke suddenly rose out of the floor, causing the temperature in the room to drop. Shroud turned around expectantly as Blackout Bowser materialized within the smoke, and then his eyes bulged from behind his hair as he saw that the Koopa King was sprawled on the ground, covered in bruises and badly beaten. Ugh, he groaned, his eyes only half open. Oh, my aching shell. I didn't even think that thing could ache. King Bowser? What is the meaning of this? Shroud snarled, stomping over to him in an instant. What happened back there? He paused. Don't tell me, he said, in a voice so cold that the temperature seemed to drop even more. I like that description. Mario, he didn't beat you, did he? Bowser wearily lifted his head up and managed a sheepish grin. Well, that depends on your definition of beat, he said uneasily. I guess I may have, gotten cut off before I could finish the job. The halls of the Temple of the Sun suddenly began echoing with the infuriated shrieks of King Shroud as he lost all control, gripping his scepter and shooting a chaotic barrage of black lightning bolts in every direction. Hold on. Yowza! Watch your blood pressure, freak show! Bowser cried, covering his head as a lightning bolt flew over him and blasting the wall behind him. You were given one task, King Bowser, Shroud said dangerously, his entire body crackling with black electricity as his hair stood on end. And that was defeat, Mario. You assured me that you were the right one for the job, and yet you failed. He punctuated the last word with another bolt of lightning that streaked all the way up to the ceiling, filling the entire room with a deafening crash of boom. Well, to be fair, it wasn't just Mario, said Koopa, getting kind of nervous. It was Mario and a Goomba? The look Shroud gave him instantly told him he said the completely wrong thing. Well, you know, he just pulled a fast one on me, I guess, he said lamely. But, hey, there's no chance I could get some alone time with prison speech anyway, is there? You know, as thanks for trying? Shroud's answer was a lightning bolt right to Bowser's face, causing him to explode into black smoke and vanish out of the temple. Mario has the last Sun Soul. He has all of them, he muttered once he was alone, his shoulders sagging. This is ridiculous. This is unthinkable. How could one short little man with such atrocious facial hair cause so much damage? He wearily hung his head for a moment before his face grew firm. Well, it doesn't matter. He may have the Sun Soul, but I have Princess Peach, and she is not long for this world. Without her, the Sun Soul won't do a thing to protect Mario from his fate. He straightened up and scowled. I suppose it's true that what they say then. If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. He stomped his scepter into the floor. You may have thoroughly humiliated my lieutenants, Mario, but you haven't won yet. Go ahead and come here if you think you're ready. We'll see just how you fare against the ruler of this world, the supreme master of night. He grinned, baring his sharp teeth as a shadow suddenly began spreading out from underneath him, rising up the wall behind him and turning the corner of the room pitch black. And let's not forget, you're not the only one with guardians on your side. From within the shadow, there suddenly appeared 6 glowing pairs of eyes. Ooh. Saluna Town, 12 o'clock noon. My, it certainly is nice out, isn't it? And so peaceful, sighed a toad as they walked along the quiet corner of town where the star pedestal was located. It surely is, agreed the female toad he was holding hands with. What a relief! That gigantic Koopa thing who was wandering around town is finally gone. I was starting to think I'll never be safe to go outside again. That very instant, a huge cloud of smoke rose up right in front of them and revealed a dazed and weary Bowser lying on the ground. Oh, come on! This isn't funny! The male toad shouted as the two of them ran off screaming in panic. Ugh, great. Where am I now? Bowser complained, rubbing his head and looked around. Oh no, I'm back in this dump again? How am I supposed to find Peach now? He paused, suddenly noticing his hand. It wasn't blue anymore, but back to its normal color. What the? He looked down and realized his entire body was back to normal. Not only that, but it was down to its regular size, not huge anymore. The powers King Shroud had given him were all gone. Excuse me. What? Oh, come on! So not fair! He roared, angrily stopping the ground. That guy can't just ditch me here like this. This whole thing was worth absolutely nothing! And then came a voice he had not been expected to hear at all. Lord Bowser! Lord Bowser, is that really you? Bowser turned around in surprise to find none other than Kammy Koopa tottering over to him in a hurry, waving her staff around in a panic. It is you, Lord Bowser. Oh, my aching hip. She was abruptly cut off as Bowser grabbed her by the throat. Where the heck have you been, you smelly old hag? He roared in her face. I've been looking everywhere for you. Are you so senile that you forgot what your job is? Wait, you're odoriferous. Wait, what is that word? Your odoriferousness, Kammy choked out. I swear, I've been looking for you as well. We were separated somehow when we got here, and then, well, things got a bit confusing. Bowser snorted and let go of her. Oh, please. You think it's been confusing for you? I spent the past who knows how long dealing with these freaky little imp guys who wanted me to guard some stupid glowing egg thing of theirs, he growled. I only did it so I have the chance to wail on Mario. And what does that obnoxious plumber do? He hands my show to me again! Kammy watched him in confusion and started stomping the ground again. Wait a moment. You said you've been working with a group of strange little imps? She repeated. Why, that's exactly what I've been doing! Bowser broke off from his tantrum and stared at her. Huh? Yes, and I fought Mario as well. I can't believe you weren't there to see it, Lord Bowser, she explained. But not too long ago, I was suddenly summoned to some kind of enormous temple with shining golden walls. There was a man there in bad need of a haircut, and he said there was a change of plans, and I was dismissed from his service. And then, well, I'm not exactly sure what he did then, but here I am. Bowser looked at her in disbelief. Oh, come on, Kammy. That guy with the crazy hair is the one who's holding Princess Peach captive. We have to go back to that temple place now and trounce that guy. Begging your pardon, you scaliness, Kammy said uneasily as Bowser began storming off. But do you even know where this temple is? Or how to get there? Bowser instantly came to a stop, his eyes narrowing impatiently as he realized the answer. No, I do not. He groaned, sitting down on the same bench that he had already broken. Oh, who am I kidding? Mario's here somewhere, and we all know he's gonna beat Mr. Harry and rescue Peach. He always does. He smirked. Yeah, we might as well just have him do the dirty work for us. Ha! Finally, that annoying Mario will be good for something. An excellent plan as always, Lord Bowser, Kammy said loyally. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Bowser said with a grin, jumping back to his feet. And once Peach is back home safe and sound in the castle, I'll just swoop in and kidnap her for real. This whole wacky field trip was just a little detour. He laughed in triumph. Ha ha ha. Tomorrow's another day, Kammy. Or at least it would be if the sun never set in this dumb place. Now come on, let's go home. Kammy blinked in surprise. What? So soon? Duh, I'm sick of this place. People throw cans at me. I don't want to be here a minute longer than we have to. He stomped off toward the exit of the town. Oh, but there was one more thing. He had stopped right in front of the store, and he smashed the window with his fist and grabbed a Super Shroom off the shelf. A snack for the road, he declared, wagging his eyebrows. Now come on, let's fly. At once, your wickedness, said Kammy, hurrying along after him. The toad inside the shop, who had just finished repairing the door after his last encounter with Bowser, now found himself frozen in disbelief as he clutched his broom and stared down at the shattered glass littering the floor. This is the worst neighborhood ever. Author's note. That was really short and pointless, which means the post chapter will also be up very shortly. Oh, I guess whose birthday it is today. Wahahaha. Well, happy birthday to you. Wait, when was this chapter posted? Does it not tell the dates? Shit. But yeah, that'll be it for this stream. We'll finish next couple streams. We're gonna be finishing this story with chapter 8. and we're gonna see the awesome conclusion to the story. Gosh, how long have I been doing this? But yeah, I quite liked the chapter. It was very cool. Pretty happy with it. Let me see if there's anyone streaming right now, so I could give them a raid. Ricky2k3 is doing a stream right now, so I'll give him a raid. Slash raid Ricky2k3. Alright, well, that'll be it for the stream. I hope you all have a good rest of the night, and take care. And, yeah, this was pretty fun. Whew. What else do I have to say? Oh yeah, I do want to say that, like, I am changing my schedule once again, so that now I'm gonna do, like, streams purely for the weekends. That may change in the future. I might do a stream in a workday, but for now I'm gonna stick to a weekend schedule basically. But yeah, I hope you have a good night and take care. Yeah, I hope you two have a good one. Bye.